wondering what the...
I said save your questions for the
I saw camera's rolling.
All right.
Okay.
So we just passed our inspection, and the inspector made sure I labeled the solar inside here as well as over here. The solar is the top breaker, and what I had to do in order to make the solar fit at the very top, it can't be located right next to the breaker here. It has to be at the opposite side of the main 200 amp breaker. So what I had to do was move a whole bunch of breakers down. There was a spare 100 amp breaker in this location, and then everything got moved down to the spare, so I kept the same order. And then the inspector said, okay, you don't have to move down all these labels since the numbers already match, but do write solar on top, which I did. We also identified the Wi-Fi, since we figured out that this breaker is associated with the Wi-Fi and possibly the patio. One other thing to point out is that breaker number 36 and 38 were previously labeled as spares. They were never updated. It's just like 35 and 37 are labeled as spares. Now it says patio, so someone updated that. But if we ever figure out what number 36 and number 38 are, those need to be updated. There is no number 40 and 42 because those have been that's been replaced by the solar. Mm-hmm. So everything's been pushed down.
And these are not
so it
wired?
Ends with 38.
Are these wired?
These have wires going to them. So they go to circuits. They just aren't labeled, so we don't know what they go to.
Okay, I'll figure that.
Any other questions?
No, just that these do go to something. I thought you had some blanks down here that
no,
don't
there's
go
no
to
more
anything.
blanks.
So everything is connected to something.
Yeah, I know that these go to something because they have a wire in them and they're in the on position. So if I turn them off, they would presumably cut power to something.
And is there any more? Everything is fully occupied. There's no more room on this panel to add another circuit. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the panel's full because we tried to put in a twin breaker to make twice as much space, turn one breaker into two breakers, and it turns out that this panel does not accept twin breakers. So we were lucky that we had at least one spare left. By one spare, I mean two spots for a one big breaker. So we used that spare by moving everything down 2 spots into the spare and then leaving the spot open for the solar.
So if we wanted to add a battery power or some other electrical to this building, we would need to get a new panel.
You need to get a new panel, or you need to get another sub panel to feed off of this one.
Okay. Great.
All right.
And this is I don't know if we want to say anything about this.
So this opens with little hinges here. The top breaker is the top row of panels. That's the 13 modules on top, and this breaker is for the 12 modules on the bottom. There's no reason to turn these breakers off. If you ever need to turn the solar off, you would do just as well to turn off all of them at once with the 40 amp breaker. But the reason they put these breakers is because if one circuit trips, then it's a safety feature that each one has its own breaker. The 10 amp breaker goes to the Envoy. The Envoy is the name for the monitoring system that's located behind everything, and it has little lights on it.
Oh, okay.
The Envoy, mostly what it does is communicates through the Wi-Fi and talks to the computer. Then you go to the computer and anything that has an internet connection, it could be a smartphone too, and you can go to Enlighten website or the Enlighten app, and you can view everything that the monitor's been reporting to the cloud. So for the most part, this box just gets left alone. All the breakers should stay in the on position, and then only if the solar needs to be serviced should we ever turn off the solar breaker. Otherwise, we want to make sure that all the breakers stay on so that you keep producing power.
Okay. So if we wanted to turn this off, for instance, today, until SoCal Edison allows us to to feed to their meter, we're in test mode now. We have to turn this off until they give us approval.
That's correct. I'll be turning this breaker off when I leave, and then when you get permission to operate from the power company, I'll tell you guys to turn this breaker back on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all we have to do. Just turn.
That's
that
all
on,
you have to
and
do.
then
You don't
this
have
is-
to do anything in here.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Good to know.
All right, I think that's
All right.
it.
Well, thank you.